And welcome to the April 11th, 2013 Longview City Council meeting. We're pleased all y'all are here tonight. There must be some big item on the agenda with all these people here. But we're glad, oh, Laura's shaking her head, yes. Okay, no, we're glad to have y'all here tonight. Tonight, our prayer and pledge is going to be led by Senior Pastor Ricky Ricks of Gregton United Methodist Church. Would you please stand?
Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this city that we are honored to call home. We give you thanks for its people, our families, our friends, and our neighbors, and for its leaders who hold our lives, this community, in sacred trust. We pray, God, your wisdom fills this time, that your wisdom fills the conversations about the present and leads us into a boldness in the future. For all your good gifts, we give you thanks, and for this meeting and for what you will accomplish, we praise your name. In Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let us join together in the pledge to allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for being here tonight. Oh, here it is. Citizen comment. Our friend Vic Verma is back for another appearance. How you doing tonight, Vic? He is persistent, God bless him, I tell you that.
I'm doing well, Mayor Dean. How are you doing?
Good deal, good to see you.
Good. Mayor Dean, members of council, as you know, on March 14th, I spoke to you about passing a resolution on supporting the Medicaid expansion. On April 2nd, we had a very successful Medicaid expansion forum, and I would note that all three panelists, Ken Cunningham, the CEO of Good Shepherd, Kim Nesvig, the Director for Special Health Resources of Texas, and Carl Walters, the CEO of Longview Wellness Point, all supported strongly the Medicaid expansion. And here's where we're at with our local community and what it means to us, just to reiterate what I spoke about before. The largest employer here in Longview and Gregg County, Good Shepherd Medical Center, supports the Medicaid expansion. 2 of the 10 largest employers, Good Shepherd Medical Center and Longview Regional Medical Center, support the Medicaid expansion. The Longview Chamber of Commerce supports the Medicaid expansion. In addition, I know at the county level with mental health issues, most of those cases are deal with folks on Medicaid. So that will allow us to address the issue of mental health in a much better fashion. As is typically the case, we will hear about the political issues involved. We will hear about the political winners and losers. But this really means nothing to the uninsured who will benefit from the Medicaid expansion. And it means nothing to our healthcare providers who shoulder significant burdens that hinder the economic bottom line. We talk about economic development. Well, the Medicaid expansion is an asset in this regard. So I once again urge you to please pass a resolution supporting the Medicaid expansion. We've also made the same request of Gregg County. Your business community and uninsured residents are counting on you. Thank you.
Vic, let me make a comment on that, okay? Because I want to be clear where this one council member stands, okay? This is a matter of the state. The state has to make the decision to accept or not to accept Medicaid expansion, okay? Because our resolution is one thing, but if the state does not accept that money, and we all know why they're not accepting that money, because what they're understanding is that it's a short term, 2 to 3 year, where the federal government's going to support it, then the state picks up and foots that expansion into the future. So I will say to you, I personally think that the efforts belong in Austin with your representatives in Austin to try to come up and figure a way to work with the federal program at the state level so that the municipalities and the counties, it's always passed down. When the federal funds run out, then it ends up on our table, on our plate, okay? So I would strongly urge, I mean, I know, I understand everything you're saying, and with the hospitals and whatnot, I can understand that position. But I would strongly urge you to get with your state representation, your state senators, and find how to get into the program without it falling on the shoulders of local government, because at the end of the day, that's where it will end up when the federal funds go away.
Can I make a brief response to that?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. In terms of the federal funds, you're correct. It is 100% funded by the federal government for 3 years and then 90% thereafter. What I would say about that is, one, to just to clarify, if the state and local governments find that the Medicaid expansion is not cost-effective, they're free to leave the program at any time. That's one. Also, we are working with our state representatives in Austin on this as well. What we feel is that the state is not, that in our counties in particular, and the city is not directly affected, but the county is, that a lot of you're right, the expenses roll downhill. And we feel like at the state level, they need to hear from their local communities, because that's Dallas County, McClellan County, Harris County, Bexar County. A lot of counties have passed these resolutions because they know at the end of the day, these expenses are falling on them. And we feel that with your help, we have an extra group of folks that are telling Austin that we need to work on getting this money here.
Well, you have a whole lot of faith that Austin or Washington are listening, but I appreciate you being here.
I think they'll listen more than we think. And so I strongly urge you to support it.
Okay, thank you, Vic.
Thank you, Jack.
Tricia Biggs.
Thank you. I am a relatively new community member. I've been here about 4 years. And as I moved in, I was a little concerned about some of this and surprised at some of the establishments on Highway 80 and their location. And I've had a concern as a parent of 5 children and as a PTA member that has children in the school, on the South Foster and Hudson Pep, traveling in that area, that is not some great signage that is there for our children to see, especially being at a thoroughfare to our community. It is something that people do recognize when they come into Longview. And so I was concerned about that itself, and then a few months ago, I actually, as I was traveling on Highway 80 in the early evening, at one of the establishments, I saw a child, 6 to 7 years of age, walking in and out on the side door of one of these establishments, and my heart sank. I called 911 to go try to rectify that situation of that child being there. I am concerned about their location and the closeness. I know the one ordinance is that they are to be 1,000 feet away from any park, school. The ones especially on 80 close to Good Shepherd by Alpine Road, that Teague Park right there, I am sure I would ask the city to go and check to see if those signs are in those establishments are greater than 1,000 feet away. From my calculations, they are not. As I was doing some further research, as I looked at, because to me, and as looking through the city ordinances of a sexually oriented business, and I'd read different things in the fall when there were some things going on and saying that those are not. One, from my understanding of what I could read, and I could be wrong, that they are, and one of your ordinances says in 5881, obscene publications, exhibitions, and moving pictures, etc. And it says it's unlawful for any person, firm, or corporation to knowingly print, sell, make, display, or exhibit any obscene book, magazine, story, or pamphlet. Those pictures are obscene, I believe, to me, and I believe, and here it says the word obscene is defined as whether the average person or contemporary community standards. I think those pictures are really not appropriate. Then as I was doing further research, and this is something as a community member that I was not aware of, in 1994, I believe there was a very large lawsuit against, by Robinson and the city of Longview. I was just looking generally for information on what was legal, and I came across this law that is still good case law and has been cited in the Fifth Circuit several times upholding city ordinances. And the ordinance, which I'm assuming is still in place, 2386 prohibits semi-nudity and nudity in commercial establishments serving or permitting the consumption of alcoholic beverages. The ordinance sets forth specific prohibitions and penalties and authorizes the city to seek injunctive relief to enforce compliance with the ordinance. One thing that impressed me as this ordinance and as goes on in this case law is the reasoning why the city did it. The city did it, as it said, recognize secondary activities associated with sexually oriented establishments where alcohol is consumed as drastically different from those activities of an establishment where alcohol is not consumed. And the city listed 6 reasonings of why they did not want those alcohol served at sexually oriented businesses. Those are evident. To me, I think as a community member, and to me, it would be surprising if no one did on the sections of 80 where those establishments are. The crime is there, the property values is low, it hurts our community, it hurts the whole thing. And so I was so impressed that the city of Longview in 1994 made this ordinance, and the courts have upheld this ordinance when people have come and sought to take it to action, and they've cited it in other cases. So my request is that you would revisit those establishments and see that they are meeting the codes. I am glad to be a city member of Longview, and I want this to be a place that will continue to grow. And I feel that that is a plight on our community, that area, and it hurts our community as a whole. That is right next to Good Shepherd, which was just mentioned that is the largest employer. And as it is growing, and as people come to visit, come to contemplate moving to this city, I believe that is an area that we could clean up and would make a great difference to our community. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Well said.
So Chief Dingler. Yes, sir. We'll pick on you tonight. Why don't you, let's look into the ordinance and let's look into those particular establishments. Tiffany Angus, you're coming to talk about well, you got a tough act to follow.
Yes, I do. She did a great job. Good evening, council members. Thank you for having us. I am a third-generation resident of Longview and love this city and community. I have seen your recent measures in trying to improve our community. As a lover of animals, I greatly appreciate your hard work in researching and making the best decision to build a new animal shelter. I've thought that was a wonderful choice. Also, I have been impressed with the I-20 plans to improve our city's entryway. In keeping with that goal, we are making a request tonight for the council and city employees to also consider the Highway 80 entryways into Longview, just as Tricia was talking about. This is kind of a timeline of how I've seen this in my lifetime. A few years ago, I noticed 2 topless bars signs go up on Highway 80, close to Good Shepherd and Super One Foods. There's also another one, the west end of Highway 80. The businesses that are now there are Jay's Place, Pleasure Palace, and Cloud 9. The signs display detailed female stripper silhouettes in provocative forms, advertising these businesses' services. I was greatly appalled that these were put up where I live and so close where I take my children to play at Teague Park, where I grew up playing. It is a busy thoroughfare of Longview, and many citizens and community members from other cities must take it to get where they need to go. When I joined my son's school PTA last year, I found a Texas PTA legislative resolution that passed in 2008 regarding sexually oriented businesses. We as PTA members are to work with the government officials and policymakers in our communities to ensure that sexually oriented businesses or signs advertising these businesses are not located within 1,000 feet of residential areas, schools, religious facilities, libraries, recreational facilities, public parks, school activity centers, or thoroughfares used regularly by school buses transporting children. Then, in October of last year, the Longview News Journal had articles regarding the new Venus store that opened. Quoting from an article on October 9th, 2012, Sean Harris, spokesman for the city of Longview, said, "Though US 80 is home to several topless clubs, they do not fit the city's criteria for a sexually oriented business. The ordinance has built-in restrictions based on case law throughout the country." And under that law, I'm sure that's related to the case law that Tricia Biggs was pointing out to. But we've both done some more research because that's where our concerns started. And then we've gone forth and I've talked to a lot of friends and things like that. And a friend that moved here about 3 years ago, she said, you know, they came into Longview on Highway 80 like the first time her husband got a job here. And her immediate reaction is, "You're moving me here?" And that was kind of sad. I thought, I love Longview. I don't want people to have that impression when they first come here and think, this is where we're moving. And so I don't know if she didn't say it was directly related to that, but in general, like Tricia was saying, it would be a good place to clean up into Longview, to go along with the goals of the I-20 corridor that I've seen y'all list. I know that that's related to the I-20 corridor, and it will increase a great deal of business for our community, and I'm excited about that. But I also think by doing these measures and checking this case law and seeing if these ordinances are actually being enforced, we're not costing the taxpayer money by doing that. We're making sure that current law is already being enforced. There's no expense related to it. And so I'm really encouraging the council to really look hard into that, to make sure that this is being enforced. Because honestly, I'm sad. I have 3 children too, a 1, a 3, and a 6-year-old. And we plan to raise them here, and I want them to continue to feel that goodness in their community. And obviously, money helps, but I don't think the tax dollars that come from these businesses are worth any effort to continue making that, without making sure that the codes are being enforced. If whatever needs to happen, that needs to happen. So I greatly appreciate your time tonight, and thank you for listening to us, and we look forward to hearing what the results are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very well done. Very well done. And that's how things happen in the community, okay? Not one of us sits up here and proclaims that we know everything that's on everybody's minds. We have town hall meetings to go out into the public and talk to people because we want to know. So we'll ask, I mean, you've given us a lot of data, both of you ladies, and we appreciate it. And we'll ask staff to go in and let's investigate this and see what we got. Sign ordinance. I see Ms. Maines back there just grinning. She loves that sign ordinance. Okay. I have one other speaker card, but I think it's for zoning items. So the next item, presentation of a proclamation commemorating April as National Autism Awareness Month. And I think I have Lisa Simmons here. Yeah, please come up here to the, well, I won't keep telling you it's called a dais, but I'm so proud to learn that's what it's called. I can't help it. Get you on camera that way.
You look better than he does, I tell you that.
Hey, man, I always like to be out of class. I like to be out there, gotta get my good side. Okay, thank you. All right, so this is National Autism Awareness Month, April 2013. April is recognized as National Autism Awareness Month, and April 13th will be celebrated as Family Fun Day for Autism Awareness. This is a time to recognize families and friends who suffer from this disorder. Positive People with Positive Attitudes is an organization which focuses on building healthy relationships within the community. Our purpose is to bring unity, direction, and educate people to make a difference. The community is encouraged to join in the events on April 13th to help lead efforts to ensure that everyone has the right to live in conditions of opportunity, peace, dignity, and mutual respect. So therefore, I, Jay Dean, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Longview, do hereby proclaim April as National Autism Month and April 13th as Family Fun Day for Autism Awareness in Longview. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all your efforts. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Donna Sharp. This is Longview Community Ministries Week. All right. Thank you. Longview Community Ministries Week, April 15th through the 19th. Longview Community Ministries continues to fulfill its mission, seeking new ways to collaborate and cooperate with churches, individuals, and civic groups to provide relief from human suffering. Longview Community Ministry maintains services of the LCM Service Center, the Food Box Pantry, Meals on Wheels, Coats for Kids, and a whole bunch of other programs, right? Yes, sir. Okay. Longview Community Ministries' mission statement is to enable Longview congregations in groups to work together for more effectively in the community through cooperative acts of service to assist persons in need. So therefore, I, Jay Dean, by the authority vested in me, as mayor of the city of Longview, do hereby proclaim April 15th through the 19th, 2013 as Longview Community Ministries Week. Thank you all very much. Y'all do a great job. We appreciate you. I think the city manager has something.
Mayor. Chief Don Dingler would come up here, please. Our illustrious police chief, Chief Dingler. Chief Don Dingler began his career with the Longview Police Department in 1973 and was promoted to the rank of Chief of Police on February 1, 2011. During his career, Chief Dingler has been assigned to a wide variety of assignments as both an officer and/or supervisor, including patrol, traffic, training, jail services, and narcotics. As a command-level officer, he has been the commander in all major components of the police department. Prior to his appointment to Chief of Police, he served as the commander of the Field Operations Bureau, which includes patrol, traffic, school resource unit, and the Special Investigations and Apprehension section. Chief Dingler is the Longview native and graduated from Longview High School. He received his Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice from the University of Texas at Tyler, and he is also a graduate of the FBI National Academy and the Bill Blackwood Law Enforcement Management Institute of Texas. So it is my distinct pleasure as city manager to congratulate Chief Dingler on 40 years of service with the city of Longview. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Willard. I do appreciate it. I appreciate the recognition. 40 years, I guess I've done a few things right. But out of that 40 years, the time that I'll remember the most is the last 2 years, is being able to be your police chief, and I do appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Chief. And has done a great job. Council consent agenda items. Is there any item on the consent agenda that council would like to consider separately? If not, may I have a motion? Have a motion, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Zoning items. Item A, public hearing to consider application Z1303.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council, and Mr. Willard. The applicant, Mr. Sage, is requesting a rezone from two-family TF3 to heavy commercial. This is in an area along Avenue A, Campbell Street. One more time. As you can see, it is surrounded by heavy commercial zoning. It's just an extension of that boundary for the development of the property for retail and commercial type uses. Go to the next. The comprehensive plan for this area does show this as a transitional area. Planning and Zoning Commission and staff do recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions on Z1303? Mr. Garrett?
Mr. Shirley, was there any opposition to the zoning item from any of the citizens in that area?
I did not receive any.
You never did receive any, okay.
I have not talked
What's
to
going,
anybody. or had any.
is there a site plan for this location?
We do not have a site plan submitted as of yet, but we have visited with the contractor on behalf of the developer, and what their plan is to build, trying to remember, I want to say it was like 6,000 or 7,000 square foot building. Mr. Sage that owns the property, owns an adjacent business and also owns a business that will be locating in there. They do promotional type items, T-shirts and things like that. And that will be located in the northern end of the building, and then the remainder, I think, will have space for either two or maybe one large additional tenant that they'd be renting to. And they would have to have a 10-foot minimum buffer area along the northern and eastern boundary lines, and in that buffer there would be no driveways, no activity other than a solid screening fence and landscaping and trees in that area.
Any other questions? Okay. If not, this item requires a public hearing. Public hearing is now open. I do not have any speaker cards on this item. Is there anyone here would like to speak to this matter? If not, the public hearing is closed. May I have a motion? So moved. Have a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Item B, consider application Z1304.
Thank you, Mayor. Applicant Z1304, Jay Youngblood, is requesting a rezone from agriculture to heavy industrial and heavy commercial zoning. This is an area that was annexed in 2008, and with that, we give it a temporary zoning designation of agricultural until they can get permanent zoning, either based on an existing business or potential development based on the future land use map. This location, the original application was actually for all of it to be heavy industrial. We did receive a letter, and you should have that in your packet, from one of the adjacent property owners, and that was Mara Davis. And I did speak with her after we received her letter about her concerns, and obviously her concerns were dealing with, Highway 31 being an entryway corridor, and, the beautification of the city and protection of that entryway. And based on her comments and some other discussions, we did visit with the applicant and say, you know what, maybe the area that is undeveloped along the frontage, why don't we back that down to a heavy commercial zoning? That way we kind of protect that visibility and that corridor and just leave the existing business. And I think there was some misconception in the letter that Ms. Davis wrote. It's an existing scrapyard that's been there, I believe, 20-plus years maybe. They're not expanding, they're not changing, they're just wanting to get from existing non-conforming to a conforming use under the zoning. So if they need to do anything additionally, one of the things that brought this on was their existing sign was damaged through some storms and so forth. In order to put up a new sign, they have to have zoning other than agricultural. They may do a new office building or something in the future if the zoning allows them to do that. This is an aerial from a few years ago. It's not exactly what's out there. There's a little more activity, but it just shows how the frontage, and then this area right here that's undeveloped, and then this tree area, that's the area that would be zoned heavy commercial, so they would not be able to expand that industrial use into that area, thus protecting that. Here's some pictures of that frontage area to kind of see, what that scrapyard looks like. Planning and Zoning Commission and staff do recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Mr. Smith?
Mr. Shirley, I got an opportunity to talk to Ms. Davis today about this matter. And I think her biggest concern with this, Mr. Shirley, I don't think she even lives here in Longview. I think she lives in California.
Yes, sir.
And
So she can hear that noise all the way from California? I mean, that's what a letter says.
That's what a letter says here.
She got good ears.
Mr. Mayor, but is her house somewhere near this salvage yard? Have you got a picture of that?
Let me go.
I think if she lives in
This house
California, she's
right
going to be
here-
renting that house.
Just directly across, I believe, is the house she owns. The appraisal district record shows someone else owning, but she said that she owned that, and I believe some of the land around it. But I believe, as you said, she doesn't live there. It's a rental property.
The rental property, okay. I don't think Ms. Davis even lives in that resident right now. I think she owns the house itself, but I don't think that she lives there. I think she lives in California now.
But for the record, I want to make sure it says, P.S., if Mr. Youngblood succeeds in getting the zone changed, would you please have him purchase my property? So, Mr. Youngblood, you got an offer on the table. That's the way to do it. I mean, hey.
What is it that this scrapyard actually, what type of service do they provide, Mr. Shirley?
This may be better question for the applicant, and he can correct me if I'm wrong.
Can I help out with that? If you've been to any scrapyard, it's pretty much, it's metal,
Metal?
both standard kind of metal, then, copper, and they accumulate this material to transfer to where it's remelted and reused, turned
Yes.
into product, but it's, I mean, it's not used cars per se and
No, it's
whatnot,
not used cars,
correct?
okay.
I believe they do have a small section that they recycle some of the
But I
cars,
mean, it's
but
there
not.
because they're gonna tear them apart, tear them down.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not like what you'd see, you pull them kind of, oh, there's no business name in that, but those kind of
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Okay, but
Go
all
get-
those cars around the backside of the building?
Yes, and if you've been by there, they've got natural vegetation
Okay.
along this area, and they would have to maintain that solid screening. And I, you know, I would hope that they would do some more landscaping and beautify it, and they've indicated that they would like to do that also.
All right, I'll take a look at that this week.
Okay,
This
Ms.
is not
Casher?
an expansion, though, is it? This
It's
is just
not,
to
it's
bring
an
them under code.
existing, it's to
Right.
make them legal.
Okay,
They're,
got
I
it.
mean, they've been operating, they're not changing anything, it's to make it legal.
Got it.
Okay.
I was
Mr.
trying-
Richard?
Yeah, yes, I was trying to figure out where this property was, so I drove by here on the way to the meeting, and I did several U-turns back and forth in front of the property. No offense to Mr. Youngblood, but it's actually meant as a compliment. I think a lot of folks wouldn't even notice that there's a scrapyard there. I think he's done a nice job of camouflaging, if you will, his business, and it appears to be a good corporate citizen. I think it's a good thing, and we ought to support this.
And I think that's why he's wanting to get a sign, is because people don't realize he's there.
I meant that in the nicest way, Jay.
Yeah. Okay, any other
offense.
question by council?
None.
If not, this item requires a public hearing. Public hearing is now open. I do have a speaker card for Jay Youngblood, but it's only to answer questions. Is there anyone else here that'd like to speak to this matter? If not, the public hearing's closed. Any questions of Mr. Youngblood, council, that you, okay, if not, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Okay, then, next item C, consider S 1301.
Thank you, Mayor. With a scrapyard or salvage yard in heavy industrial, they do require a specific use permit also, which is site-specific. And to follow up on the zoning that was just approved, this is for the SUP, and that is strictly on the portion that is industrial, not the 2+ acres that is mostly the frontage. So this is just a follow-up and continue
Right.
for that.
Right.
Planning and
Okay.
Zoning Commission staff recommend approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions? I think he went over this at the first. Anybody else have any additional? If not, this item requires a public hearing also. I do not have any speaker cards for this item. Is there anyone would like to speak to this matter? If not, the public hearing is closed. May I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item D, consider PD 13-01.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for planned
Good luck,
development.
Mr. Youngblood.
This is for planned development from general retail mixed use to planned development multifamily for independent living. This is an area that that was zoned just generic planned development a few years ago. And this is just the site plan approval following up with that, just kind of phase 2 of that development. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, council? If not, this item calls for a public hearing. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone would like to speak to this matter? If not, the public hearing is closed. Council may have a
Move to
motion.
approve.
Have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. That's all of the zoning items, unless you hid one out on us.
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
All right, how's the drumming going?
Oh, it's been a while.
When you start having those kiddos, that drumming kind of,
They take up a lot of time.
that's a good thing. I know they are. Okay, action items. Consider rejecting proposals for collection services. David Willard, City Manager.
Mayor and council, thank you. This item refers to a request for proposal that the city sent out several months ago regarding our collection agency services. These are firms that collect our delinquent matters and collections in municipal court, EMS services, as well as our water utility services. We issued those, went through the process, and we're down to 3 finalists ready to bring a recommendation to council, but we discovered that we felt like we had a conflict and some language that was, and some parts of the RFP, the request for proposal, that were not clear regarding the bonds that we required to be put with that proposal. The confusion came in that the bonds that we required, one firm was under the understanding that, or two firms, I guess, were under the understanding that those had to be submitted with the proposal package itself. The other firm was told differently, and our documents were not as clear as they needed to be. We've discussed that with the city attorney's office, and as my recommendation, feel like we really need to start over, and we ask you to reject those proposals, and then we'll go back out again and make sure our documents are more clear this time regarding the bonds.
Okay, council, questions, comments? This item is an action item. Need a motion to reject.
Just a question. This is for next budget year, right? We're under a current contract to the end of this fiscal year, so what we're doing now is
The
for...
contract ends at the end of May.
So we're still in the May, we got plenty of time.
Yes, hopefully we'll get it, we might have a month or so lag in there, but hopefully we'll get it done and back before this contract
Current vendor
expires.
has no problem extending if we need to.
We can't do that under the terms of the contract now. We would just be without those services for a couple of months or until we got it
Okay.
done. We've looked at that, and there's no provision to extend.
One thing on the bid proposal and whatnot, and I've spoken to the city manager about this, but I don't know all the criteria, as well as probably council doesn't know all the criteria by which the committee, chooses the winner and whatnot. But one thing I would ask is that the bidding firms supply us with information as far as their collection in other cities. The history. I mean, what's their percentage? I mean, when you only look at, well, this one's going to charge me this amount, that one's going to charge me this amount, but when you go back and start reviewing the record of what their collection rates are, and it's not real great, we only did it because they will pay us much. I'd rather pay somebody more money because they collect more money than somebody that we're not going to have to pay as much, but they're not collecting as much. So it doesn't seem like rocket science to me that maybe we should include some detail, historical detail about what other cities or collection contracts they have, that they could show us what their success ratios are. Is that, I mean, is that?
Yes. Very good.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, and perhaps we're telling the city manager how to do his job, but I'm going to offer my 2 cents also. Perhaps some type of, well, not the first time, right, Mr. Miller? So along the lines of what the mayor said, maybe some type of minimum acceptable standard, that if these folks do not collect at a certain level, based upon a benchmark y'all established, we have an out in our contract. I don't know if the city attorney agrees with that or not, but it seems like that would, rather than being stuck with someone for a whole year.
Yeah, well, just so the public knows, I mean, when you start talking about municipal court, EMS, water, what else is in there?
Those three.
I mean, those three, the total dollars that we carry on the books is in the millions of dollars. So, I mean, if we're gonna shoot at trying to get a percent of that money collected, we should strive to find the people that are gonna give us the best odds to collecting a higher percent of that money. Right. And so just because this one only charges this percent and that one charges a higher percent, well, if the batting average is low, I'd rather pay somebody more money that's got a higher batting average. So that, I'd like to ask y'all, if it's okay with council, to try and come up with a matrix to use to establish, give us at least better than a wild guess if they're going to be successful or not. Exactly. Okay.
We can certainly make that a part of the criteria on our
I'd
scoring.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr.
So we need a motion to reject. I have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. B is to consider resolution accepting the recommendations of the Parks and Recreation Board concerning development of a mountain bike trail. Ms. Laura Hill.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Willard, we're here tonight to ask your approval for another public-private partnership. This one would be with members of the Longview Bicycle Club. On the wave. This is to
Look, Brandon, I want to see that bike, Brandon.
Brandon, you're in.
Oh, yeah.
They approached the city, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board to construct a mountain bike trail here in Longview because they're tired of traveling. And with the assistance of Public Works, we identified the Grace Creek corridor moving south from Highway 31 as a good route, and the Park Board approved it, and we're here tonight to ask your approval, and there's no cost to the city. So this is a great public-private partnership. We're just providing the land.
And we've had that piece of property for years. Okay, so I thought, great idea. Any questions?
I think it's a great idea, but we provide the maintenance and upkeep, right?
They're
Or
going to
they're
help
going to do- or they're
police
going
it
to
with
do all of
litter. Mountain bike trail is, there's no
Supposed to be
improved
pretty rough.
surfaces, so they're going to help us with litter. If they get it out to a street, sanitation will pick it up. It's little minor things like that. So actually, they're probably going to help us in some other areas with that
But we
property.
will still have to do the maintenance, so right, the majority of it.
Well, excuse me a second, but on that piece of property, it's a natural
I know.
floodplain, so we don't really do any
We don't
maintenance
do any
on that.
maintenance.
Even after the trail is constructed.
No?
But we don't do
Okay.
any now, so we wouldn't do any in the future, yeah.
Okay. It may actually help having people down in there with some of our illegal transient camps and things like that. So there may be another positive from it.
Well, I think, when we talk about how much people have enjoyed our walking trails, and these, a lot of people that we work out with do the mountain bike riding and whatnot, and they do travel.
Well, if you
the
have
only-
any questions, there,
Well, the
they're,
only other place they have to go is private individual property, here locally, so.
Could you ask Jim to help me get a bike? I need a bike.
Brandon
looking for one
was
right
saying he
now.
wants to get him one too. You got yours? He's in a big one. He wants a trike.
I'm really looking for,
down to the South Loop.
Yeah,
for real.
it's,
And they can do it in stages, and, we own plenty of drainage corridor in there, so, it can,
that was one of the final pieces of the natural floodplain that we acquired years ago, yeah. Any other questions? Rick?
Comment. So first of all, it's a great idea, love it, and I look forward to riding on the trail myself. Secondly, this is a great example to other private citizens. If you have something you'd like to see done, it doesn't mean that the government has to do it. Get your friends and your family and others that enjoy the endeavors that you enjoy, and take the leadership just like these folks have, and get it done yourself, instead of always looking for or not always, but instead of looking for the government to do it. So kudos to your group.
Good job. Next thing's gonna be the disc golf people.
yes, sir, we're working with them.
Y'all working with them too?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. Any other questions? If not, may I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Have a motion, second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Okay, council items of community interest. Mr. Sims?
What's your mouth?
I'm not saying, I will not say a thing, Mr. Sims.
Well, I don't really have anything tonight, so I'll pass.
You've been awful quiet tonight.
I'm thinking.
You thinking? You hearing stuff too pretty good. Okay, Gary, Mr. Smith.
The town hall meeting last Tuesday went great. We had a town hall meeting on 80
First Christian.
at Longview Christian Fellowship
Christian.
Church. It went real well. Actually, it went great. Had a lot of people show up. I want to thank our camera crew and this guy by the name of Brady Miller. He attends Forest Park. He's a sixth grader. He really did a great job out there last week for us, Pierre.
He made sure everybody had that microphone.
Definitely made sure everybody had that microphone. Safety City fundraiser, you may have this on your list already.
No, go ahead.
Safety City fundraiser, this Saturday. Is that right, Chief? This Saturday,
Oh, I do have it on mine, but you go ahead.
from 10 to 2 o'clock, Marbley Baptist Church. The public is welcome. See Johnny Zachary for any additional questions. And I also want to thank the Longview Mission Church for their kind words.
Okay. Ms. Casham?
I think at the last meeting, I thanked everyone, all the residents of Temple Terrace and Parks and people for coming out, Councilman Manley, even he came out to the trail ribbon cutting. I don't think that I acknowledged Station 3 specifically of the Longview Fire Department. Thank you. Those gentlemen came out, Chief, your guys, they're so good, and it's always such a pleasure to be around them. And I'm thankful that in spite of everything that we have going on in our community, our fire department, those guys still take time to answer any inquiries or questions. I know I had one yesterday. I talked to Chief Hester. Chief Steelman put me in touch with him. So thank you for that. And also want to thank the Longview Sanitation Department, because I've had an opportunity to visit at length with Keith Buns, I'm sorry, not Keith, but Dwayne Archer, and David Simmons, our new recycling coordinator. And instead of Councilman Smith saying it this time, I'm going to say it. Please, please recycle. It is so important right now. I'm really pushing it in District 3. I cannot speak for any other council member, but I'm encouraging people to just try it, because as the mayor says, that little old blue bin will fill out before you know it. And it helps us, it helps our environment, it helps our community. So thank you to everyone, and please do call Longview Sanitation and secure the little free blue bin if you don't want to come up off of $1. Thank you.
She had to get that last little bar. It only costs $1. That did come up, though, at the town hall meeting. We had a lady that owns a company, matter of fact, right behind City Hall here, and Debbie Fontaine, and talked about, even the businesses being able to get the 95-gallon containers, and she had about a whole container worth of stuff she brought into the meeting to show everybody what could go in there. So it is, and I think this next budget cycle, we've really got to consider additional investment into making that program really take off. So, Mr. Frost?
Well, while we're talking about waste and litter, we'll still pick up litter on the highways. That bike trail, if they're going to pick up litter, maybe they can run down the right-of-way in some places and bad places and pick up the litter too.
Okay, Mr. Manley?
Yeah, two things. I had the benefit about a week and a half ago to come out on a nasty night where 100 and 150 people came to the Community Health Corps fundraising dinner. Had the benefit of hearing Coach Gene Stalling speak, Roll Tide. And he did a great job.
A&M first.
Yeah, that's right. One of the Junction boys, actually. A&M got him first. But what a great group of people and a great organization. And I would say to anyone that has the time or the resources, if you're looking for a place to commit time and commit money, that's a great organization that helps people suffering from mental illness and alcohol and drug abuse. And there aren't a whole lot of resources like that in our community. And I just think they do a fine job, and I was pleased to be part of that. Secondly, I'm going to be at the second of 4 family weddings next council meeting, so I won't have the opportunity to congratulate and thank Judy Atkinson for her years of service, because she's retiring at the end of this month. And I just want to say, Judy, thank you for everything. You sure made my job being a councilman much easier, and God bless you, and we'll miss you.
Okay, good job. Okay, City of Longview and Keep Longview Beautiful will host a spring, talking about cleaning up, Mr. Frost. We're going to host the Spring Trash Bash on Saturday, April 13th from 9 a.m. until noon at the Longview Public Library. Volunteers are invited to help clean a neighborhood or park of their choice. Also, tire and electronic recycling will be offered during that time. However, industrial equipment, TVs, and tires on rims will not be accepted. For more information, go to longviewtexas.gov. Gary, you've talked about the Police and Fire Safety City fundraiser. Yeah. And one more time, Saturday, April 13th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Mobley Baptist Church. I want to again recognize these two ladies that came tonight, Tricia Biggs and Tiffany Angus. Thank you all very much. It's good to see, involvement in the community. A lot of times we get people come up here and it's mostly hate stuff, but it's good to have proactive citizens that are coming here looking to try to make the community a better place. We react a lot better than we do to the hate stuff. You know, the hate stuff, we just, but no, seriously, thank y'all very much, and we'll be definitely looking into this, and just have a little patience in us, okay? Okay, so now what we're going to do is council is going to go to executive session with our attorney under Texas Government Code Section 551.071 to consider, discuss, and consult with the city attorneys concerning a proposed developer's participation agreement involving the extension of 4th Street. We will be coming back? Who you coming back with? We not coming back with you. Oh, okay. All right, we may return. Session at this time.
I move to approve the ordinance prepared by the city attorney authorizing a developer participation agreement for the extension of 4th Street at Hawkins Parkway.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. The other thing is, Mr. Allen was stuck in the Phoenix airport trying to get back today. And at this point, I don't think he's back yet. So I'd like to ask for a motion to excuse Mr. Allen.
Motion to excuse Mr.
Motion
Councilman
second, all in favor
Been
say
there.
aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Council meeting is adjourned.